Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Data Resilience SpectrumCast. This is going to be another exciting one, talking about our partnerships. So as always, joined by my co-host, Randy Arsenault. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Steve.
We have our subject matter experts, Trisha Jang and Sean Sperry. Sean joining us from vacation. Thank you very much. And we have, I think, our first returning guest, Paweł, CTO over at Storware. How you doing today, Paweł?
I'm really good, thank you. How about you?
Oh, very good. Thanks for making the time.
A repeat offender. The first one.
Repeat offender, our first one.
Sean, Sean, I have tomorrow holiday, so keep fingers crossed. I just need to, run through the whole Europe, but I will send you some best regards and photos from Croatia.
There we go. Team, as we all know, about a month ago, maybe not a month, maybe 3 weeks ago, we made this great announcement at IBM for the data protection portfolio that we were doing some partnering with 4 key vendors. One was RocketSoft, one was AvePoint, one was Cobalt Iron, and Storware was the other one. And I think most people are familiar with our portfolio, who are familiar with our portfolio, are familiar with Storware. They add a lot of value and a lot of capabilities to our resilience portfolio. I think if you saw the SpectrumCast that we did directly with Paweł, where we talked about Codo for Cloud, Codo for Endpoint, and vProtect, that helps with the Microsoft 365 solutions. Hopefully you got a chance to see that. If not, check out the YouTube channel. It's all there. But so as we begin, Paweł, why don't you tell us about how you're feeling about this partnership with IBM now?
So actually the same as the weather today. So it's quite hot, this cooperation. So definitely looking forward to that, after the 8 years when we built the Storware, we have right now the chance to cooperate, worldwide. It's not that we didn't, but right now it's let's say next level. And because we are on your list prices, so all of the business partners, internal sales can have benefits from our cooperation. So we have a ready technology to help the existing IBM Spectrum Protect portfolio customers and partner to, like I said, to get the next level with the new approaches and I believe new workloads that we are able to protect these days with both companies itself. So really excited. As you see, this cooperation is quite hot.
So I think it's great. First we mentioned it's on the price book, so it's no longer you have to meet in the channel, right? You can sellers can provide this solution to our customers, and business partners can provide it to the customers on one sheet of paper, which is fantastic. You want to just run through the 3 capabilities? I mentioned them before, but you want to talk briefly about the 3 capabilities you offer to the portfolio?
Yeah, should do. So let's start with, like you said, Codo Cloud. So the first capability is the Microsoft 365. You of course know that we have this capability in Spectrum Protect Plus, but it's a little bit different architecture and a little bit different, let's say, set of capabilities. So definitely today you can have the add-on to protect the SharePoint online, but also in the future, you will have a possibility to protect the MS Teams still this year with individual granular item restoration for all of the specific Microsoft services that we are providing. So coming from the mailbox through the OneDrive for Business to the SharePoint and the Teams in the near future. With the capability to storing the data on a file system or in an Azure blob storage. So in a short, Codo Cloud will help you to achieve the Microsoft 365 backup and recovery capabilities. The next one, Codo Endpoints, will definitely help you. And this is one of it's actually our first solution that we provided more than 5 years ago. Even we rebranded, but it's all about protecting the endpoints with the continuous data protection philosophy. So every time you change your file, this file will go straight away, and it's important to the Spectrum Protect as a backend engine. So Codo Endpoint cannot live without the Spectrum Protect. The beauty in this solution is that it's really scalable, and really intuitive, easy to use. So if you are a customer or if you are a partner watching us, looking forward to find opportunities like 10,000 even endpoints plus devices on Windows based machines, you can easily reach us, and believe me, you will be stunned how fast and reliable this solution is. So this is our major, advantage, even if you compare it with the competition. I've seen many of the POCs that, customers sees, okay, this is quite the same functionality, but okay, after 500 plus desktops, the performance stopped to slow down. So Codo Endpoint with the Spectrum Protect as an engine gives you a really boost in this area, especially in a COVID time, and when we have a remote workforce still. And to be honest, even if we're trying to put all of the data into the cloud or into our data centers, still roughly about 50% are still resides on a laptop or desktop itself. So we should keep in mind that the endpoint protection is still valid, still important to talk about from the education perspective through the implementation. And the third one, the vProtect. vProtect, the V stands for the virtualization workloads. So we started the journey with the KVM-based and the Zen-based hypervisors. So guess what? Right now, with the Spectrum Protect, SPP, and the vProtect, you can attract more than 15 different hypervisors. And only one vendor on the market, and I will not tell you who, has this capability these days. But believe me, from the KVM OpenStack, Nutanix, Zen Server, XCP-ng, there's lots of different Red Hat virtualization, which is also important for our partners and customers. We have agentless data protection. We do also have containers at AWS, but it's also, so it's actually a choice for our partners and customers if they will use the existing Spectrum Protect portfolio or the vProtect. But the good news is that we can use again Spectrum Protect as the enterprise backup engine for to storing the data from the vProtect, to have the single pane of glass and the management for whole of the life cycle of our data in one system. So vProtect with the Spectrum Protect can be treated as a proxy VM, like for example TSM4V.
Very good. Thanks for taking us through that, Paul. I think that last one around all of the different virtualization engines. I know, we talk about a big part of the reason we chose partners to go to market with is because no one vendor can build everything for all people, and we cover some of the virtual environment, we cover most of the physical environment, and now we're into the containers. But you're really helping us with the virtual side of things, and we appreciate that.
And what I noticed in the last few years, and it's also an important message, that more and more enterprise customers, not only enterprise, but in most cases, they're looking for the multi-vendor virtualization. So it's not only about the VMware and a Hyper-V. You will find more and more KVM-based virtualization projects, and not only from the technology point of view, but also from the total cost of the ownership. In short, these projects are much more simpler in a scale. See what the Amazon is doing. They're moving most workloads to the KVM. See what the Red Hat is presenting these days. The Red Hat virtualization, and right now the OpenShift virtualization, which is the KVM on top of the containers, which is a little bit crazy from the architecture point of view, but this is a beauty because in a few years, we will see more workloads moving to the OpenShift, and you don't need to migrate the VM into the container. You can run the VM on the container, which is quite unique, and nobody else on the market has this kind of the capability. So I'm really keep the fingers crossed from the Red Hat philosophy, because it makes really, really sense from the DevOps and the new way how to develop the application.
Yeah, it seems a little upside down at first, but then when you really think through the architecture and you think through the common framework across all the different workloads, it really does make a lot of sense. So
it's a brave statement that let's do it in the opposite, but I believe many customers will find as the smart approach to make the things happen because right now there is a lots of, shall we use the containers, or what to do with the VMs? Right now you can have both into one solution.
If a customer goes and orders your product, are they 3 different PIDs if they want the different functionalities, or is it all one, or how does that work?
Right now, Trisha, we have 3 flavors. In the new future, we have a plan. Actually, in the end, till the end of the year, we will combine it into the one single UI. So our customers will see the single pane for all of the workloads. At this point, they see the 3 different user experience. We've seen there is advantage of it because most of the customers looking for the tiny functionality. But of course, the market demands to be much more compliant and have most of the integration, the management into one single pane of glass. So definitely, we're also looking the same philosophy in the future with your approach. So looking forward for it.
So the 3 will also be 3 separate orderable items from IBM. Is that correct?
Yeah. Right now, you have 3 different part numbers. We will move it into the 2, then to the 1. But at this point, we have 3 part numbers for all of them.
What would you say is, as far as vProtect goes, what is the most popular platform that you're supporting? Is it KVM based?
Definitely yes. When we started 2015, the Zen was the first one, but the Zen is decreasing and the KVM is rising. So we've seen more and more KVM legacy backup, Ovute, because Ovute is the open source representation of Red Hat virtualization. And lately, even the Oracle put the investment and they build based on the KVM, the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. So so definitely this is our number 1 hypervisor from the numbers of the customers. And, imagine that you have more than 10,000 different customers using the Oracle VM these days, and they will need to move to the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. So because the beauty here is that the customers using this technology can do the partitioning for the database, Oracle database. So that's why they're using this technology. So definitely I encourage all of the partners or customers thinking about, okay, what I should do to protect my production databases on the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager or the Red Hat virtualization. So the answer is the IBM and the vProtect these days.
And do you see a lot of customers using the open source version of those? I'm just curious. I would imagine a lot of IBM enterprise customers would kind of shy away from something like that.
First one, the managed service providers. So this is a huge movement that we've seen lots of opportunities that the managed service providers saying, okay, we go into the open source because it's giving us a better margin when we build in the services. Yeah. And there are 2 kinds of the enterprise customers. What we've seen, one, you have let's say the religion open source people who saying we will never go to and we will never pay a penny to any of these vendors. They build the whole infrastructure on the open source. Then the business saying, okay, if it's going from the DevOps to the production, what about the support? And I said, okay, so they after the few years they going through this let's say philosophy into the support itself. Wow. But believe me, there are many enterprise open source divisions today that they trying to do it without the investment. I believe, I don't want to judge anybody, but it's a great opportunity to use without the payment on the DevOps perspective, but on a production is not the best idea. I've seen 2 banks lately who they did the statement, but we will do it without, for example, Red Hat will do it without OpenShift. And after a year, they needed to move because of the support and the SLAs. But this is how the world works. But in short, there is a movement here.
Yeah, I mean, I look at OpenShift as an example, and in addition to support, I just see a lot of value that Red Hat adds by integrating all of these open source projects together and providing that as one package.
Yeah, it's the new version of buy versus build. I mean, you can, if you've got a lot of smart developers and architects, you can rely on open source and, harden the application environments and the workloads yourself if you've got the time and the resources and the money and the, risk acceptance. But if you don't, then it's much easier and more straightforward to go with a pre-integrated solution and get support from a vendor. So I agree with Paweł, though. It's like the open source versus commercial debate is never going to go away, and it's going to move higher and higher up the food chain in companies, no question about it.
Yeah, but what we've seen is also the problem with the people itself. So it's not easy to keep the people at the same company for the years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really aggressive statement that I will keep and build everything based on my people. You need to have a really good knowledge shop inside to be so brave to do not use the partners like IBM on the Red Hat these days. This is of course my opinion from the long perspective.
Well, that leads right into my tool time, and I'm going to pass it to you, Paweł, and ask if a customer wants to learn more about any of your three solutions, what's the best way that they should go about that?
I think always the website is the best option. The www.storware.eu. This is the first. We're doing a lots of effort to make all of the knowledge put there, from the blogs through the video blogs through the webinars. So definitely go to our website and put the newsletter. The next thing, definitely it's worth to use our YouTube. We are quite social beast because of our friend Backup Monster.
The Backup
So
Monster.
So if you will hashtag or just put the Backup Monster, you will find also some information about us and how the Backup Monster is eager to protect the data. So many of the social activities on LinkedIn. And definitely, if you are working with the IBM ecosystem and with the Spectrum Protect, definitely I encourage you to go on a LinkedIn to the IBM Spectrum Protect professional group, which I created and co-host with my friends from IBM, like Steve and the others. And then you have a place where there is more than right now 1,500 people related to the IBM Spectrum Protect. So this is also the great opportunity to meet the people, to contact them directly, or to just ask a question on a group. But also do not hesitate to contact me directly through the different social media, or of course our friends from IBM, because this knowledge, what we've done lately and how we are pursue the market and building the new features, is also moved, and all of the education is going to the IBM. So I think in every release, you can actually choose where to go, to the IBM or to us directly.
Yeah,
every path is good here.
Just between us, your website is definitely the favorite is my favorite of all of our partners. But I don't want to play favorites, but I'm going to play favorites. So.
Thank you. You're always saying
group has been great. You've been really instrumental in getting that up and really bringing in the people. So that's awesome.
Paul,
go on.
Go finish what you're going to say. Go ahead.
We're trying to, be always proactive. So we are not a kind of the people, and we're building our culture from my pre-sales team, sales team, that we don't waiting for our customers. We're trying to attract them and doing the value from the content point of view, all of the efforts that we're doing from the meetups point of view. We have even our own community, open source community that we've built. It's named Open Virtualization.pro. So this is also our, let's say, investment with the Red Hat to speak more about the KVM-based hypervisors, to encourage enterprises to invest into the skill set, because the open source skill set and the container skill set, this is the skill set of the future. So I also do love and admire VMware, because they still have a majority of the market, but something is changing. We cannot say it loudly, but I think more and more companies see this movement and they looking for some alternative virtualization or the containers platform these days.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Great. So we often go to this point in the podcast where we talk about some cyber incident, cyber threat, the whole reason and rationale for protecting your information these days has been a big hit on around cyber threats and cyber resilience. And we always go to our co-host, Randy. Randy, you got anything on the wheel of misfortune, or what's hot today?
Yeah. So the obvious one probably, and I think we talked about it, excuse me, in a previous call, was the recent ransomware attack on a company called Kaseya. So this is a great example of a company that most people will have never heard of. However, they are an IT service provider to thousands of small and mid-sized businesses around the world, but concentrated predominantly in North America. And they were hit over the weekend, over the July 4th weekend, with a ransomware attack, likely from the same Russian team or, some component to that team that was responsible for some of the previous attacks. And this caused some major disruptions. The worst of it was actually not in the US, it was in Sweden. There was among other things, a grocery store chain in Sweden that was forced to shut down 800 stores because they had no point of sale systems. They had no inventory management. They had no, chain of custody for the food products or anything. So it was a really, really disruptive event. So, we do this every week, and every week there's never a shortage of things to talk about. I think this was the one within the past week or so that was probably the most prominent or the most high visibility. But again, the point here, as we always talk about, is that these companies require or increasingly require not just good cyber resilience in terms of the ability to detect and prevent intrusions and threats, but when they inevitably do get hit in some manner, attacked in some way, the ability to recover, quickly and reliably and safely. So that whole recovery side of the equation, of course, we talk about a lot. And this is just a latest example of where that is so very important. And companies like Storware and our partners, working together with us, are providing these organizations with the tooling and the best practices and the technologies and the policies they need to overcome these kinds of attacks. And, again, we sound like a broken record, but they're just going to continue to increase. I mean, these attacks are now commonplace. They're going to continue to be commonplace. They're going to become more commonplace. So I think it's in everyone's collective best interest. And certainly, we as a broader community of providers and vendors and, business partners like Storware have a responsibility to, try to keep up on this and do everything we can to enable our clients to be more resilient. So anyway, that's the one that got most of the headlines this time around.
Thanks, Randy. And I think you pointed out two really key things. Number one is, so hitting Sweden, this isn't just a North America thing or just a particular country thing or a large country, China, Russia thing. This is everybody around the globe is being attacked, number one. Number two, it's any size of business. It's not just financial institutions. It's not just, banking or insurance or hotels that we heard about the Marriott. This is everything. Mm-hmm. Paul, put you on the spot real quick. What are you hearing around cyber threats in your part of the world? It's always key to hear from around the globe.
Definitely. I have a few friends around, even Poland or Europe, that they have, one of the biggest, let's say, perfume shops and the glossary, which is also held in Sweden and Norway. They was shut down for the month in April. Of course, nobody knows about it because this happens every day, but everybody trying to keep quite quiet. But they have, they closed the e-commerce, which is 80% of the income, for the more than 60 days. So imagine that was a small ransomware who was spread through the Active Directory. So there's lots of action, and I have, to be honest, in every 2-3 weeks, I have a call from my friends saying, do you have any people that they can help us to reinstall 1,000 plus laptops in a weekend? So it's happening. My suggestion, and it's still not, and it's not a joke. When I was thinking about what to say and what to give the best hint and tip never install your backup platform on a Windows. Use it on the AIX, on the Linux, and believe me, there are still some enterprise solutions that they only working on the Windows. So I cannot say, but which solutions are, and also some different words. But believe me, my suggestion: do not install your backup platform on Windows. Just to be, and you will be 90% more lucky if the ransomware will occur. The Linux will give you this 90% of the shield without installing anything, because hackers, they of course working on the Linux and AIX platforms, but they concentrate on the simplest platform that they cannot hack, and this is the Windows-based machines.
Trisha, I think he gave us 2 tool times today.
I know. We need to get him 2 helmets to match his
2 for
little,
the price of 1.
His monster needs a helmet over there.
Yeah, backup monster, not me. Sorry.
There we go.
Exactly.
What is really is caution, backup monster unleashed.
Those are cool shirts. Cool shirts. Gotta get some of those.
Yeah, we need to get some of those.
I can make it, no worries.
There we go. All right, team. Hey, Paul, it's truly a pleasure. You're a 2-timer on the SpectrumCast. We appreciate all you do for IBM, for us, helping to spread the message and spread the word and really help clients protect all their information. Sean, enjoy your vacation. Trisha, thank you very much for
I'll enjoy your vacation too.
And Randy, thanks a lot. So, gang, for today, have a nice day.